My sister was getting married. I was not invited. She did not forget. She did not lose my address. She made sure I would not be there because she did not want people to see me. I asked why. The answer was clear. The wedding would be shared online, and she did not want me in the photos. She said I was not good enough to be seen. I stared at the message. It was not surprising. My family had always treated me as if I was less important. I had learned to ignore it, but this was different. My sister had not just left me out. She had decided that my existence should be hidden. My sister had always been the center of attention in our family. Our parents prioritized her in every way. They made sure she had everything she wanted, while I was always an afterthought. When decisions were made, they considered what was best for her first. When we attended family events, she was the one introduced with pride, while I stood in the background. As children, she was given the best clothes, the best gifts, and the best opportunities. If I received something, it was always less, always secondary. If I ever questioned it, the response was clear. This was just how things were. The way they treated me affected how others saw me too. Relatives followed their lead. Friends of the family did the same. If my sister needed something, people rushed to help. If I needed something, they barely noticed. Over time, I understood that I was not important in their version of our family. I distanced myself as I got older. I built a life that did not depend on their approval. But they never changed. In their minds, my place had been decided a long time ago. Now, my sister's wedding was happening. She had made her choice. I was not invited. I told my parents, expecting them to react, expecting them to see how wrong it was. But they supported her. They said she had the right to choose her guests. They said it was her day, and she could decide who belonged there. They did not care how I felt. It was not surprising, but it still hurt. My sister had always cared about appearances, but her obsession with social media made it worse. She spent hours editing photos, choosing the right angles, and writing captions that made her life seem perfect. She was not famous, and she did not have many followers, but that did not matter. Every post had to be curated as if she was someone important. She planned her wedding the same way. Every detail was chosen based on how it would look online. The venue had high ceilings and gold accents because it photographed well. The flowers were arranged in a way that matched the trending wedding aesthetics. Even her guest list was selected carefully, not based on family or friendships, but on who would fit into her vision. I did not fit. She had not invited me because my presence would not look good in photos. The people who followed her did not know I existed, and she wanted to keep it that way. If I was there, it would ruin the image she had created. I told my parents. They did not see a problem. They said it was her wedding, and she had the right to invite whoever she wanted. They dismissed my feelings as if they did not matter, just like they always haughty realized then that nothing had changed. No matter how much time had passed, they still saw me as someone who could be ignored. After reading my sister's message, I went to my parents. I told them she had not invited me to her wedding. I expected them to be surprised, maybe even upset. Instead, they did not react the way I had hoped. They said it was her decision. They reminded me that it was her wedding, and that she had the right to invite whoever she wanted. They did not ask how I felt about it. They did not question her choice. They accepted it without hesitation. I told them why she had excluded me. I repeated her words. The wedding would be shared online, and she did not want me to be seen. They did not seem shocked. They did not even seem to think it was wrong. Instead, they told me not to take it personally. They said she was under a lot of stress, and that I should not create unnecessary problems. They told me to be understanding, to accept that not everyone could be invited. They spoke as if I was an old acquaintance, not their daughter. I asked them if they truly believed it was right for her to exclude me. They did not answer directly. Instead, they repeated that it was her choice. They said I should support her and not make things harder for her. I realized then that they had never really seen a problem with how they treated me. To them, this was normal. It made sense that my sister's wedding should be perfect, and if that meant leaving me out, then that was simply how things had to be. Left the conversation knowing that nothing would change. After my conversation with my parents, I felt exhausted. They had dismissed me so easily, as if my absence from the wedding was something small, something that should not bother me. But it did. It confirmed what I had known for years. I was never meant to be part of their world in the way my sister was. First, I considered staying quiet. There was no point in arguing with them. My parents had made their position clear. My sister had already decided I did not belong at her wedding. Nothing I said would change that. But the more I thought about it, the angrier I became. It was not just about the wedding. It was about the years of being treated like I did not matter. It was about how easily they had erased me. It was about how none of them even thought this was wrong. That I decided I would not pretend everything was fine. If they did not care how I felt, then I would not care about protecting their image. I started telling the truth. When relatives asked if I was excited about the wedding, I told them I was not invited. When they asked why, I repeated exactly what my sister had said. Some of them looked uncomfortable. Some awkwardly tried to justify it. But I could tell that, for the first time, a few of them realized how far this had gone. My parents found out I had been telling people. They told me I was being dramatic. They said I was making things difficult for my sister. They told me to stop talking about it and move on. But I did not stop. That I would not stay quiet just because they wanted me to disappear. After I started telling people the truth, My parents became more frustrated with me. They told me again that I was making unnecessary drama, that I was ruining an important moment for my sister. They acted like I was trying to punish her instead of simply explaining what had happened. Relatives began reaching out to me, but not to offer support. Most of them echoed what my parents had said. They told me I needed to understand that weddings were stressful and that my sister had the right to make her own choices. They reminded me that she had always been the more social one, the one who was better at making connections. Some even said that maybe it was for the best, that I would not have enjoyed the wedding anyway. That I asked them why it was acceptable for my sister to exclude me for such a shallow reason. No one gave a real answer. Instead, they kept telling me to stop making things difficult, to let it go. A few relatives avoided the conversation completely. They knew it was wrong, but they did not want to be involved. They did not want to risk upsetting my parents or my sister. They stayed silent, which in the end was the same as agreeing with them. My sister acted like none of this mattered. She continued posting updates about the wedding, sharing photos of dress fittings, the venue, the decorations. She ignored my existence entirely, just as she had planned to do from the start. The more they all dismissed me, the more certain I became that I was done playing my role in this family. As the wedding day got closer, I felt like an outsider watching from a distance. My sister continued making posts about the final preparations. My parents were busy helping her, acting as if nothing was wrong. The rest of the family had made it clear where they stood, that I did not plan to attend. I had already been erased from the event, and I refused to show up where I was not wanted. But I was not going to pretend everything was normal either, that I made sure everyone knew what had happened. I did not ask anyone to take my side. I did not beg for sympathy. I simply told the truth. My sister had chosen to exclude me because she thought I would ruin her perfect social media wedding. My parents had supported her decision. The rest of the family had followed along, telling me to stay quiet instead of questioning why this was acceptable. The reaction was slow at first. Some relatives ignored it. Others avoided me. But a few of them, the ones who had stayed silent before, started thinking about what it really meant. Then, on the day of the wedding, everything fell apart. That a significant number of family members did not show up. Some had already made excuses days before, suddenly unable to travel, or not feeling well. Others simply never arrived, leaving empty seats at the reception. It was not because of me. It was because they finally saw what my sister had done. They saw how easily she had discarded her own family for the sake of appearances. They saw how my parents had supported it. And when they thought about it, they realized they did not want to be part of that. Without enough guests, without the full support she had expected, my sister's wedding could not continue as planned. It was not the perfect, carefully curated event she had imagined. Instead, it was an embarrassment, a failure. Her wedding day never happened the way she wanted. And for the first time, she could not blame me for it. The wedding did not happen as planned. My sister had expected a full venue, a perfect ceremony, and a flawless reception. Instead, the turnout was much smaller than she had anticipated. Many of our relatives had either backed out last minute or never arrived at all. Some of the guests who did show up left early, uncomfortable with the tension in the air. The energy was not what she had imagined. It was not the picture-perfect moment she wanted to post online. When my parents realized what had happened, they were furious. They blamed me immediately. They said that by telling people the truth, I had ruined my sister's wedding. They did not consider the fact that it was my sister's actions that had led to this. To them, I was the problem, simply because I refused to stay quiet. My sister did not reach out to me directly, but I saw what she posted afterward. She made vague, passive-aggressive comments about people being jealous, about how some family members had let her down. She acted as if she had been betrayed, as if she was the victim. But she did not mention what she had done. Some relatives later contacted me, not to apologize, but to say they had not realized how bad things had gotten. They admitted they had assumed I was exaggerating, that it could not be as cruel as I had described. But when they saw the way my parents and sister reacted, when they realized how easily I had been cast aside, they understood. I did not respond to most of them. It was too late for their sympathy to mean anything. My parents made one last attempt to guilt me. They said I should apologize to my sister for causing trouble. They said I had gone too far. I told them the truth. They had gone too far a long time ago. I was done being part of a family that only valued me when I was silent. After everything that happened, I knew there was no going back. My parents had made their choice. My sister had made hers. They had never seen me as an important part of the family, and now I had no reason to keep trying to belong. I did not apologize. I did not argue. I simply stopped responding. My sister tried to salvage her image. She posted pictures from the wedding, carefully cropped and edited to hide the empty seats. She wrote a long caption about how not everyone would support your happiness and how true love would survive no matter what. She never admitted why so many people had refused to come. My parents did not reach out again. I knew they still blamed me. In their eyes, I had caused the problem, not my sister's decision to exclude me. If I had stayed quiet, everything would have gone according to plan. That was all they cared about. Some relatives tried to reconnect, but I did not trust their sudden change of heart. They had ignored me when it mattered. I was not interested in rebuilding relationships with people who only supported me when it was convenient. I have spent years trying to be part of a family that never saw me as equal. Now, I do not see the point anymore. I do not regret telling the truth. I do not regret standing up for myself. But I am left wondering what to do next. Cutting ties feels like the right choice, but part of me still struggles with the idea of fully walking away. So, I guess that is where I am now. Has anyone else been in a situation like this? How do you move forward when you realize your family will never change?